Hello world and hello friends, welcome back to my single player survival world. I have had this world for about a year, and as you can see, I'm not speaking too well, but that's okay because I'm still getting back into the groove of a normal Minecraft world. As you can see, or as you may know, I did some modded just for a little bit, but now I'm back with my farm and with my world and with a lot of plans to make things a lot better. Starting off over by my gunpowder and sugarcane farms, I have done a little bit of work right in front, and that is creating a rocket factory. Now, this isn't perfect. It will fill up all the rockets here and then some extra storage beside it, and it is just a simple contraption that will automatically take all of the gunpowder, all of the rockets, and combine that's sugarcane, not rockets, gunpowder and sugarcane, turn the sugarcane into paper, and turn those into rockets. Now I have more than enough of everything here, so this is really only going to run while I am close, and other than that, I don't think I'll be in this area. Now the biggest thing I need to work on is actually the nature areas. I have cut out so many trees, and over here I have actually just started to create a forest area. This was actually before I took my little break, and I actually had thought in mind of this being actually as far as I spread the forest, and then I change biomes. But I have realized that that is a silly idea. I will keep the beaches as they are, but once I get inland, I actually want to make all of this area be that biome that I've just come from. That being said, let's take a quick stop at my world map. I didn't even update the forest areas over there. Did I update them over here? No, I did not. So this is before I've even updated everything. And as you can see, I had some plans of some future buildings, and I've also realized that that was a silly idea. I've also realized that this is not even updated for the current town hall. That means that what you're about to see is very different, even though I'm still working on that, but I've actually terraformed, mostly. I have terraformed this whole entire area, so my town hall is no longer floating in the air. Now all of these dirt blocks are pseudo-temporary. I will make all of this area be a little bit more beach-like, but that will be a little bit later. And yes, this does go all the way wrapping around to my problem that I'm ignoring. One downside to all this terraforming is that my underground areas are a little bit harder to get to. Thankfully, I have some secret areas. Secret entrances. I know, super fancy. But down here in my cavern, I have actually made some upgrades. The first one being a single control switch for all of my moss farms. As you can see, I've gone out of render distance a little too far, so I've broken my moss farm. That's a little unfortunate. But if I flip here, then all three moss farms will be turned off. It's nothing too fancy, just using the walls to track with an observer, and them cascading down to all three. If you notice the amethyst, that is just me tracking the central chunk of my cave area, so that I will eventually chunk load this so that that doesn't happen. And also so if I need to run that machine, I can. And I've added a brand new machine. This one is just another moss farm, but a little bit different. As you can see, I wanted to get a little bit more moss than pale moss. And inside here, I have some copper golems at work, sorting out all of the moss and pale moss that is created in here. And all of the seeds will go down below. Will go down below into a composter, or into a, if I can show it, into a dropper, which is actually going to give me a 5-minute timer. Because this room does have two settings. It has a 5-minute timer and a toggle on and off switch. All for making that biome up above. So, once I fix these moss farms up above me, I think it is time to go ahead and make a whole bunch of trees and moss and spread the biome across my whole town area. Alright, I have prepped some things, and as you can see, I actually have some resin outlining the area that I want to complete for today. This is not going to be the final outline, most likely, of this biome, but I am somewhat following, at least on this side, not going into the taiga or the birch forest. Down on this side, I'm just stopping at my path because I might change how I do things in the farm area. And over on this side, I'm just ending roughly where I have ended my terraforming at, but also curling around and leaving room for a little bit of a beach area. This is probably not going to be as pointy as it is currently. Regardless, I have a whole bunch of moss and a whole bunch of other growables, but let's go ahead and make all of this area go from looking nice and bland, well, not nice, but very bland, but make it start looking like an actual forest. Let's get to it. Alright, I have been busy, and I have done a pretty good job at taking what I have created here and spreading it all around. Now, I have not completed everything, namely, I haven't gotten to this big section yet, but I have gotten quite a bit done on the other areas of the place that I had marked out. I am really happy with this. It is giving much better vibes and a much better feeling of just the plain ground. I forgot about this section. I also said I would be putting up trees, and yeah, I just didn't have the supplies for the trees at the time. And also, this involves quite a lot of inventory space, and putting in all that I would need for the trees at the time just didn't make sense. But now that I have done the base of this, I'm going to come through and do some trees. Now, I will say styles have changed. I did this section first, and as you can see, I've added a few extra moss carpets here and there. And over here on this side, I only have the moss carpets where I have glowstone, because that is actually what I'm using to light up the area, but just hidden underneath. And I have that the same all around, just hidden glowstone to light all the places up. Now that being said, I am very happy with this, and with how I have outlined pretty much the whole area. I mean, once again, ignoring this half of everything. Now that I'm saying half, it actually is half. Oh boy. That's quite a lot. But also, I'm still not sure what I want to do for the beach area down here, so I am waiting until I have a slightly better idea of what I'm going to do down in this area. This has also required a whole lot of bone meal, and while I do have the amount of bone meal, I don't have a backup supply that much, so I'm actually going to sit and run the farm for a little bit longer. Also, it lets me get a tad bit more of oak wood, which is what I will be using for the trees in this area. Now, if you look closely, it is some oak wood. I can't fly backwards. I can't even fly forward. It's oak wood, a little bit of spruce planks, occasionally some spruce stairs, and all the leaves are oak leaves and also a little bit of acacia leaves, just for an added bit of texture. It's not perfect, but I kind of like it. Though that one's a normal tree. I think I kind of gave up at the end and put some normal trees in there. And honestly, I might do that. I might do a few normal trees as well as these custom trees. With a little bit of acacia, a little bit of oak, and all of these dead leaves on the ground. That being said, I have gotten a whole bunch of leaves, spruce, dead leaves, oak wood, and the oak logs? Is that what these are called? Oak logs? I have all of that ready. I need to grab a little bit more lichen, but I'm going to let my stock of bone meal get a little bit higher before I move on and start working on some of these trees, which I am excited to show you my build process of. It's not perfect, but hey, it's a tree. Well, before I get to building some trees, I got a little distracted. and I've done a few things. Number one, I have added a new little button here, which opens up a trapdoor that gets me into my cave down below, where all of my moss farms are running because I have added some ender pearl stasis chambers to keep all 4 chunks running. Now this is wrong one. This is right in between 4 chunks, and those chunks include both chunks of the moss farms and a little bit extra for this moss farm, well, most of it, but it just makes sure these keep running and all of the functionality works because I have added some more functionality. I have a long chain of hoppers and chests to hold all the bone meal I use, and this is the minecart that I can swap with one up above to have easier access to bone meal. And all of this will slowly back up. I actually don't know how full this is. Okay, not up to there yet. It's only full up to here of this first chest. But if all of these manage to fill up, that could be a problem. So I have now added a very hard to access comparator here on the very top chest of this stack that will send a signal all the way up to my original trapdoor, which is now being powered by a copper bulb. And if that comparator is on, this piston will retract, shutting off all of the farms so they do not overflow. But now all of these farms can run continuously while I'm anywhere in the world. So I'm going to do that because I need to... I'm using a lot of bone meal now, and yeah, I could use a lot backed up of it. And I think now it's time to add some trees. I still have not touched this half, and that's okay. I've also realized I kind of want to redo the town hall yet again. I've had some better ideas. So I'm going to do that in the next few episodes. I'm excited for that, but I also want to know I need to get this project completed of making some trees. But where to add the trees? Over in this area, I have created actually I missed that, a pretty tight grouping of trees. Once again, this one I think is a natural tree. I mean, I planted the sapling, but it's a vanilla tree. So maybe I want to add some customization to those. Oh, and here you can see some of the extra patterns of leaves I've put in there. Now, so with the tight grouping of all this considered, I do need to add a few in this area. Now, I could always add some buildings, so it's a little hard to commit to where I'm going to put trees when I don't know what else I'm going to build. However, this area back here, I know I'm not going to build anything between that house and this house, so let's make some trees happen. Alright, with all the supplies, let's get some wood here. And if I remember correctly, I've been trying to kind of double up on the bases. And let's have a tree. I think let's have a tree be right down there. It also will help to have some shears so I can save all this. So if I have a tree, but be there probably, possibly. Let's move it a little bit away. Have a tree be there. What does it look like from down here? Yeah, I think that'll be a good spot. I do need to sleep. So let's then figure out what's the height I want of this tree. Though I do need to say, this is not a tutorial. This is me just doing what I've done. And it somewhat works. The trees are kind of nice. They are not perfect. They could be better. But I like the trees, and I'm making more of them. So I think, yeah, let's keep that trunk of the tree. And let's get some scaffolding, which I do need to be a little careful with, so I don't disturb all of the plants that I have planted. Alright, and let's take this and let's imagine each of these logs is its own branch, and each branch will split off into a different direction. Some tips I have picked up is that every time you split a branch, it needs to take half of the distance of the tree. So at the very tip of the branches, all tips of the branches together will add up to the width of the trunk of the tree, which I think is pretty cool. I have not seen any trees that actually disagree with that. So it's a very cool metric to try and follow. That's why I'm keeping this kind of simple. I'm not using trapdoors or fences or anything. I'm just keeping these logs in use. So let's go ahead and let's make there be a diagonal one. That was not in the right spot. Let's say 2 up and then up that way. And then clean these up. And there we go, 1 branch. Let's get the other 3 out. And there we go, 4 unique branches. And yes, the orientation of all of them is not perfect. That's what the logs will be for. Sorry, the oak wood, because I'm currently using the logs. I think I said that incorrectly earlier. But now I'm just taking a look at what shape I've got, and I think I'm liking it. So let's go ahead and let's get some of the oak wood in here to hide all of the exposed parts. I've swapped to using some resin to help with that, and that's looking pretty good. Now let's get the base of this looking a little bit better, because if you notice on some of my other trees, I have spread the base out a little bit, kind of as roots to make it actually look like it is growing into the ground. I don't know if oak trees specifically will act like this, but I think in my case, for these oak trees, that's how they work. The spruce planks and the spruce slabs actually look pretty close to the color of the wood here, so that is why I am using these to act as little extensions of the roots. Now, not every side needs to have them, and in some cases, if there's a longer branch, I will actually add more roots into that area, because that is actually how trees will counterbalance themselves and make sure they don't fall over. But I think I'm pretty happy with that, so now it is time for what I think is the hardest part. And I climbed up here without those supplies I needed. And the hardest part, for me at least, is adding the leaves. I've been kind of struggling when I've made the other trees to try and make these be unique and not just like a cube. So, and I'm trying to remember exactly what I've done to help my process out. I think what it was is I did start just at the very ends of the branches, marking that for myself, seeing what kind of shape it would be, and slowly just expanding it kind of uniformly, but also knowing that eventually I will need to add some randomness. However, you do need to have the base of a tree. Like, you need to have something substantial for the tree to actually be able to grow from. Because trees photosynthesize, I mean, not in Minecraft, but in the real world. And through that, they need the trees. They need the, well, not, they are the trees. They need the leaves to collect all the energy and to give them the strength that they need. Also, what a struggle for me is getting the underside. It's weird. It's always weird for me, at least, to try and get to the undersides of these. That is kind of what the Happy Ghast can help with, but also like how much of the stress do I need for that? Because if you don't know, Happy Ghasts are a little bit tricky to control and to navigate around the area. Now, I will say feedback is always welcome on something like this, especially this, because I am not claiming to be good at it. I know there's room to grow, and I know that there's probably better ways to do this and to make make this look better. Now, I will say that does include, but is not limited to, different types of blocks to use, different building techniques to use, maybe some extra textures to have in here. I know I'm not using any of the acacia leaves yet, but those will come in hopefully shortly. Now, the basic shape of this is looking pretty good. I think definitely there is some spots inside here that are not looking the most incredible. And I know, as much as I'm talking about getting realism of stuff, there's definitely some shapings of the branches, coverage, foliage, no, foliage? I think foliage. I think that's what the leaves are. There's definitely patterns that are in real life that I am not following right now. And I think, as I've said before, and as you probably know with how Minecraft works, it's not the end of the world. This is a game of cubes. There's only so much we can do about it when we're working with cubes. And we try our best to make things be organic looking, but not much in life is cube based. Now I'm at the point where I'm mostly happy with how the leaves are looking, but, well, the shapes of the leaves are looking, but I do want to make sure to get a little bit of that texture in with the acacia, and this also lets me fill in some of the gaps that I didn't really get to, or just kind of could touch up a little bit more on. And with the color of this, it really doesn't add too much, but it kind of breaks up the shape just a little bit so that it doesn't look as blocky almost. Though of course there is always room for changing and adjustments, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this not being perfect and needing adjustment down the line. So I think this is looking pretty good. Let me take a look at it from the rest of this path. I think I added 2 straight of lines up there, but in general though, I will be adding more trees, so hopefully in general it will even out. I left a leaf. And hopefully by adding more trees, any of the faults of one tree will be hidden by there just being a lot. And now all of the leaves I have left on the ground and all the leaves falling, that brings me to the final step of actually adding some of this leaf litter around the area. Occasionally I'll put some on the logs themselves, but just going around and adding some leaves to kind of show that those falling leaves are actually a thing. And if I really focus on doing this, I can try to accumulate them in the nooks of the tree. I think there's one tree over here, one of those, I don't remember exactly which one, that I really did kind of create a pile of leaves underneath it, because yeah, that's where that's where the leaves would accumulate at, is on solid ground, like in that corner, or maybe let's say in that corner, right up against the walkway. And maybe because this is so close, maybe a few leaves here and there have fallen onto the walkway itself, and a few maybe just a little bit more ways away. And there we have it, one tree of many. Now that I've walked you through this process, I'm going to see if I can time-lapse a few more. I know time-lapsing this whole ground area didn't seem the most feasible, but come on, these are trees. I'm not moving around that much. So let's see what I can do. I've got some busy stuff going on in real life, but I want to get this done, and I want to make a lot more trees, because even this one tree, even the plants on the ground, that makes this area, this world, look so much more natural and lived in. And also, I'm kind of seeing where I can put a few more buildings, but that's going to be, like I said, a later episode. Time to make some trees. Well, I ended up not time-lapsing, building all the trunks of these trees, because I was moving around a little bit more than I would like for a time lapse. I actually went around and placed all of the bases of the trees, so all of the 4x4s. There's a few single ones, I think in front of the house, but I placed all these down just to see what the spacing would be, and then went around and built them up one at a time. And as you can see, I actually created this little path here from the back of my house to the back of this house. And as I stand here, this is nice. This is a really nice view. I'm very hopeful that the leaves in that tree and that tree are going to make this even better. but I am really happy with this path. It brings so much more life into the world and into this. I should have done this sooner. But regardless of that, there's two more things I need to do to actually complete all of these trees. One is to actually create the root systems of the trees, and the other one is to do all the leaves, which I know, self-explanatory. I just mainly wanted to go over here to show that I added also a tree on each side of this building, even though I don't have trees on the back side, because I still don't know what I'm doing with that back area. Same for that back area. But regardless, I think I'm going to go around and create all of the roots for the trees, and then maybe I might finally actually time lapse me putting all of the leaves on the trees, because I think that's going to be something I'm actually going to be able to time lapse. Hopefully. We'll see. If not, this is just a bunch of me talking and showing what I've done. So anyway, let's get to that. Hopefully. But first I'm going to get the roots on the trees, and then do that. This video's taking a while, but hey, I'm on a roll now, and I'm happy about it. Well, I was on a roll, and also it took a very long time. So much so that I actually have completed not only the roots of everything, but also all of the leaves. I actually went under that tree. That was not my intent. That is right. I have completed all of the trees. They aren't perfect, but they are in a pretty good spot because I had a little bit of fun making them be a little bit different, but also pretty uniform if you can't tell by that one and that one. I actually struggled with the first few after I did the roots because I wanted to make all of the leaf patterns be completely unique and completely different. That being said, I did also add a few more types of leaves to the mix. You can see the acacia leaf above my head. There is a jungle leaf above the head up there and in a few other places. And the hardest one to find is I did actually use some oak and dark oak leaves. Tweakaroo, which is one of my mods, actually has a setting where I can have a slot randomizer, meaning that between slots 1 and 6, every time I place a block, it will go into a different slot in my inventory. It was very helpful to actually make these leaves be in random locations. But in terms of orientation and location, yeah, I just did a pattern just so I can get it done. I might come back later, make this one be a little bit better, and I have gone through a lot of these to actually break the pattern up. You could kind of see it, but break the pattern up just a little bit so they're not all identical, because they're all supposed to be different and also somewhat look like trees. But in my inventory is the final thing that I need to do, and I do have a lot of it. I have two full shulkers and the empty shulker with the rest in my inventory. This took quite a bit to smelt because I don't have a super smelter anymore. It was in the town hall, but I've removed it, and I haven't made it again. So yeah, I gotta do that. But I gotta place all of these leaves down all around, and then this project will be complete. Finally, it took me so long, and I still don't know if I'm gonna get this out on time. And by on time, I just mean a Monday. It's been too long. Let's get to it. Let's place these leaves. See you in a little bit. And leaves have been placed all around the area, under all of the trees, sometimes onto the paths. And I think that just really makes it just feel a lot more lived in. Granted, there's probably smarter placements. There's probably more I could add, probably less I could add. But I did have some fun keeping the areas over here pretty clean. But then once it gets into areas that maybe people don't walk as much, there's a little bit more of leaf littering around the areas. And like I said, making this feel like a lived-in area, like a real place that just has a bunch of leaves that go everywhere because not many people really work around here right now to clean up the leaves, which I think is something I need to fix pretty soon. And I think to wrap up this episode, I want to do a long overdue update of the maps here. To my understanding, all of the buildings are correct. It just doesn't have any of the trees and such. So let's take a look at what this is now, and taking a look at it after we have all of the trees in, and that is actually quite a bit messier than I had anticipated. I don't hate it. It's a nice way to actually show that this is a place of life and of nature versus this flat just area. Like look at here. It's just flat. It's buildings and nothing in between. But then you look over here and that shows it's almost like a jungle. I'm surprised that the leaf litter is actually so dark of a texture there. I would have expected it to be a little bit lighter, but even just having some of the shadows happen in there and all of the changes, I'm kind of liking it. And I like how all of the buildings kind of stand out, kind of get overlapped a little bit in a few places, but all of the buildings stand out. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of this be spread to the rest of the area. And now let's go ahead and update those three as well. Don't worry, I will get a dedicated building for these hopefully soon. It's taking up too much space here. And at the same time, there's not enough space for what this is needed. But yeah, let's get the rest of these maps updated. And here we go. Now, yeah, it's a very much a straight line there. And don't worry, I do intend to make the same biome be on the top half of this area. It just took me a very long time to get this half, and I need to break that time up a little bit more so I can be more efficient and get some videos out for you guys, because it drags me down a little bit. But I got it done for this half, and I want to slowly work on the other half. So that will happen as videos go on. And you can see the same in this other map. And yeah, the largest map doesn't change too much. But I do want to actually take a note. This bottom left corner here is the Trial Explorer map. And I've saved the Woodland Mansion ones as well. I do have a dream to make a giant map at this scale to connect all of these, and probably also some of the treasure maps. But that's going to come a little bit later. That being said, thank you all for watching this video of Minecraft. I am happy to be back in my single player world, and I have some very cool ideas coming, so stay tuned for that. If you don't want to miss the next video, make sure to subscribe. If you feel that I did a good job, honestly, probably I did not, you can give a like to this video. And honestly, if you think that you have ideas of how I can improve these trees, please let me know. These are trying to stay as oak trees, but I'm not trying to say that I am good at making trees in any way. But I have made the trees, and I am happy with them, and I do hope to get better as time goes on. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and be good to the world. This has been Radio, and I will be signing off.